I see lots of people who want to use Apple devices in their business, but they also want all the benefits of Microsoft 365. So how can we combine Apple and Microsoft 365 and make it more secure and easier? Well, that's the topic for today's video. But before we start, just a quick intro as always. My name is Jonathan Edwards, also known as the Bearded 365 Guy. Now, I help businesses all over the world with a Microsoft 365. You can find more information at bearded365guy.com. Now, I see more and more businesses asking about buying Apple devices in their business. Like, for example, me. And that's because Apple devices are nice, very nice. But IT people have always advised against using Apple devices if you also use Microsoft 365 in your business. Stick to a Windows device, they all say. And to a degree, they've been right. First, you need to log onto your Mac computer with your local password. Then, when you are logged onto your Mac, you then had to authenticate to Microsoft 365 with your Microsoft 365 credentials. That's 2 passwords. Now, wouldn't it be great if you could just log onto your Apple device with your Microsoft 365 credentials? Then, once you are logged onto your Apple device, you didn't have to enter any passwords to access your Microsoft 365 apps. Well, now you can. And the technology is called Platform SSO. What's more, if you've got a newer Mac device, then you can take advantage of the inbuilt biometrics. So you can log onto your Apple device with your finger. And once you're logged on, you'll automatically be authenticated with Microsoft 365 just from your finger. Now, it's nearly time for the demo. But before we jump into that, you've got a decision to make. What authentication method are you going to use in your business? So you've got a couple of choices. The first choice, and the one recommended by Microsoft, is that you use biometrics to log on to your Mac computers. Once you're logged on with the biometrics, you'll then be authenticated to Microsoft 365. This is very similar to Windows Hello for Business. But to take advantage of the biometrics, your Macs have to be running OS version 13 or later. Now, if you've got older Macs in your business, you can still use Platform SSO, but your users would have to log onto their Macs with their Microsoft 365 username and password. Now, if you've got old and new Macs in your business, you could achieve all of this by using groups and assigning biometrics to one group and a password to another. Okay, it really is now time for the demo. And the first step is to create 2 configuration policies in Intune. Let's go. So I'm logged into the Office portal as a global admin. The first thing I'm going to do is hit the admin button here. And that's going to open the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. If I go to Show All, go to Admin Centers and go to Endpoint Manager. So let's go over to Devices. So this is my test tenancy. If I go to By Platform and Mac OS, you'll see that I've got no current Mac devices in Intune. What I'm going to do to start with is create a configuration profile for Platform SSO. So let's go to Configuration, and then I'm going to create a new policy. I'm going to click on here and select Settings Catalog and click on Create. I've got to give it a name, so something like that is okay. I can give it a description if I want and click on Next, and then click on Add Settings. So let's go now to Authentication and Extensible Single Sign-On, and it's going to load all these. So let's select the following settings. We'll have Authentication Method. Extension Identifier is already selected, and we need that. If we then extend this one here, Platform SSO, and just scroll down a little bit, we're going to have Account Display Name, Authentication Method, Enable Create User at Login. So this is for if you might want the Mac to be used by other users. Scroll down, we've got New User Authorization Mode. Scroll down, extend this token to user mapping. If we choose Account Name and full name. We also want use shared device keys and user authorization mode. Scroll down again. We want registration token, screen locked behavior, team identifier, type is already selected, and we also want URLs. So once we've selected all those, we can pop that back in here like that. And now we've got all these to fill out. So what do we put in each one? Well, lucky for us, we've got Microsoft to give us a helping hand. So if I go over to this document here, configure platform SSO, we're on step 2 here, which is create the platform policy in Intune. Now, if we scroll down, you can see that we can expand this table and we've got a lot of different settings we can now add in to our policy. So if I head back to my policy here, it's kind of a little bit upside down at the moment. So I'll fill this in a little bit piecemeal. The account display name, I would put here the name of your organization. This just shows up when the Microsoft pop-up on the Mac asks the user to register. So if your business name is there, it's just going to be a little bit more trusted. So I'll put my organization name in here like that. And then we're going to choose the authentication method. So we've got a few options. You can use the Microsoft 365 password, the secure enclave, which is the Microsoft recommended, or if you've got a physical smart card. My recommendation is to use this one here. This is the biometrics. So people will log onto the Mac with their fingerprint and it'll authenticate with the Mac and Microsoft 365. But for the purpose of this demo, just so I can show you a bit better, we're just going to choose password. The enable create user at login. This means new users can log into the Mac with their Microsoft 365 credentials and it'll create a local account for them on the Mac. So we enable that. This bit here, new user authorization mode. So when a new user logs into the Mac, do they have standard access or do they have admin access to the Mac itself? Well, you really need to be choosing standard. We don't want local admin users, ideally. Okay, we've got token to user mapping. So I'm going to just hop over to this one here. Preferred username. So I'm just going to copy and paste these in here. Because in there, full name, go back to here. That is this. Okay, those options are in there. We want to use shared device keys. Again, we don't want admin access, so it's going to be standard. We'll leave that password for this, but again, I would recommend in a live environment, you push towards secure enclave where you can. And for the extension identifier, again, let's hop back to here. Here it is. So we're just going to copy that. Type where it says credential, if you choose redirect, and we've still got some settings at the top here. So the URLs, again, you can get this from the document here. You've got 3 URLs to put in, so I'll put these in. Now, if you are using Azure Government, Azure China, then you've got to also add these URLs, but I don't need those. Team identifier, again, back to my document here. It's this one. Screen lock behavior, we keep this as do not handle. Registration token, back to our very helpful document. And that's it. So what we do now is we click on next. Got your scope tags. For assignments, you've got to think carefully about this. What Macs have you got in your organization? You might want to create groups, etc., etc. For the purpose of this demo, let's just add all the devices. Click on next and then click on create. So that policy creates, just click on refresh and that policy is there. Now we just need another policy. So create new policy again. From there, click on create. Give this a name, something like that. Click on next. Add settings. Choose login. Login window behavior. Scroll down. I'm going to choose login Windows text. Now all will become clear. And show full name. Okay, pop that back out. We're going to enable this. And this is going to appear on the login screen of the Mac. So you might want to remind users to log in with their 365 credentials. Something like that. Click on next. Again, you might want to choose groups for this. I'll choose all devices. And I'm going to click on create. Okay, refresh that. Okay, so the platform SSO policy is pushed to Macs via the company portal application. Now, this needs to be installed on your Mac device. There's a couple of ways that you can install it. You can be clever and install it via Intune, or you can just install it manually. I'm going to install it manually. Let me show you now. Okay, so we're on the brand new, beautiful MacBook Pro device. Now, I've done what most users do. I've got it out of the box. I've entered a username. I've put in a password, and I've logged onto the Mac as a local device. Now, what most people do now is just install the Microsoft Office applications and away they go. Now, there's a bit of a problem with that. If we go to System Settings, if I go down to Users and Groups, see, this is the account here. So if I click on Information, you can see, look, allow this user to administer this computer. So this user that I've created has full access to this PC. So that's not a good idea when it comes to managing devices in your business. You don't want people to have local admin. But what I'm going to do is open a Safari page. So I want to install the company portal app. So how do we do this? Well, if you simply just Google enroll my Mac, the first result here is enroll your Mac with the company portal app. And it's very simple. You just scroll down to here and click on enroll my Mac. And what that will do is download the company portal app. Once that's downloaded, we can then go to install it. We click on continue. We accept the license, continue, agree, and then click on install. It's going to ask us for the local Mac credentials, and then I'm going to install that software. Okay, the company portal app is now installed. So I can click on close. I'll move that to the bin, and I'll just close out of that Safari page. Now we're ready for the next step. Okay, now the company portal app is installed, we can get cracking. What we're going to do now is sign into it, and we're going to see how Platform SSO really works. Okay, so once the company portal app is installed, we can find it here, and it's going to ask us to sign in. So I'm going to click on sign in here, and I'm going to enter my Microsoft 365 credentials. Enter the username and the password, and click on sign in. Bit of MFA. Okay, click on begin. This just gives us a summary of what our tenancy can see for the end user. Click on continue. Okay, now we're going to click on download profile. This should open the system settings box here. Double click. We want to install that profile. It's going to ask us for the local Mac credentials again. Click on enroll. Okay, happy with that. Close out of there. Now we've just got to wait for that to synchronize. Okay, it's saying now we're all set. So click on done. Just go over to my MacBook there. That's just doing a little sync. Unfortunately, my screen recording software didn't pick up the registration required prompt. So what I've had to do is just do a screenshot and walk you through it. You can see here, look at the top, it says registration required. So that pops up when the company portal syncs. And you can see it says use your Bearded365 Guy password. That's because we put our company name as Bearded365 Guy in the policy. So what we do is we simply click on register, and then now it'll ask me for the local admin of the Mac again. So I'll put that in here. Now it wants the credentials for my Microsoft 365. So again, I'll plug them into here. Click on sign in. Okay, so what do you think has happened now? Because there's nothing on the screen. Well, again, if I go to system settings, and if I go down to users and groups, here is my local account. If I click on information, you can see that now we have the platform single sign-on. Here's my email address. The method is password. We're registered, and we've got the tokens present. So all that is good. What happens if I lock this screen? Okay, you can see here. Can you remember when we put this in the policy? So it says here, enter your Microsoft 365 credentials. Now, if I log in now with my old admin account for the Mac, we get told it's wrong. And it says, use your Bearded 365 Guy account password to log in. So we have to now enter our 365 credentials. And when we do that, we are logged in. So does that now authenticate with Microsoft 365? If I open a Safari page and go to my Microsoft 365 login, like this, you can see that that auto logs in without any credentials. which is just what we need, okay? Now, just a word of caution here. If I go to System Settings, and if I go to Users and Groups, I go to my account here. You can already see it's an admin account. So I've added my Microsoft 365 details, but it says allow this user to administer this computer, and we can unfortunately switch that off. So how do you get around that in the real world? Well, what you can do is you can add another account to this Mac. This is what sometimes we do. Add a user, call it IT support or something like that. That is a local admin account. Then when you log in as that admin account, you can go back into users and groups, go back into the local user, and then you can take them out of the administrator group, okay? So that's a decent workaround. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to log off this Mac, and I'm going to log into the Mac as another user that I have in my Microsoft 365 tenancy. So I've got another user called Mickey Mouse, okay? And his email address is mickey@bidder365guy.com. So I'm going to log out, I'm going to log in using Mickey's 365 username and password. Now, obviously the screen recording won't show you that bit, but I'll be able to show you what it looks like when he's logged in. Okay, I'm logged into this account now as Mickey Mouse. I've entered Mickey's Microsoft 365 username and password. If I just go to System Settings, and if I go down to Users and Groups, you can see that Mickey now has a local account on this Mac. But you can see here it's a standard account. There's Mickey's Microsoft 365 username. He's going to log in with his password, but he doesn't have local admin to this computer. If you remember when we created the policy in Intune, we dictated that the new users had to have a standard account. So now we've got a Mac where anyone can log in your organization. That is Platform SSO. So that's Platform SSO for Macs and Microsoft 365. I am sure you'll agree this is a bit of a game changer. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Look forward to seeing you again soon.